we're at. Oh, perfect.
I think Lisa's in for the long haul though with that, so that Pepsi. And she's yelling at us.
I got a lot of work
Tomorrow morning.
pulling the elevators.
We'll be looking for stuff to do.
So we're calling the meeting of the Economic Development Committee Monday, March the 9th. This was a meeting that we've had to reschedule due to other people's schedules and non-quorum, so we're finally getting together. We have a pretty big agenda, so I'm just going to go right into it. The first one was to approve the minutes from the January 5th meeting. I sent that out right before we got together. I had reviewed it.
I saw it looked good.
Yeah, initially. Okay, great.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Perfect.
Second.
Yes, thank you. There was no real votes or anything on it. And today is the 15th. There you go. Okay. The next topic is to vote on Mark Ayotte becoming an EDC member. So,
Make a motion to make Mario a member.
I second it.
All in
Aye.
okay, unanimous,
favor? Yeah.
right? Unanimous. Welcome.
Thank you.
I think you still have to
Now it's official.
go to the select, or get it on the selectmen's agenda, but yeah.
Okay, just tell us what we need to do.
For EDC? You know, I'm not sure how EDC
Yeah.
works, but I'll find out. If we need to put on board a selectman, I will.
Yeah.
Okay, great. The next order of business is Rosemary Scrivens from the Massachusetts Office of Business Development. We've signed her up to be part of our agenda for our business event on Wednesday, April 29th at the International. We wanted Rosemary just to give us a little heads up or a little description about what her office could do for local businesses and why it's a good idea to have you come and speak to hopefully a good turnout.
So you're inviting kind of all sizes and just kind of, and this is your list of businesses and a list of invitees?
We have a limit though on the number that we can invite, correct?
Okay.
Last year, we had it at Ray Grenier's. It used to be Delta Equity. It's now Bolton Global Capital. And we had about 30 people show up, businesses. Some of them were, two partners from the business. So I would say probably 20 businesses showed up.
Okay.
So, considering, Bolton's listed here as 215, but we have probably about 70 or
Separate
lists
businesses.
of
Actual
of
businesses.
taxpayers.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now, who is your chamber? Is it North Central now?
It's Neshoba Valley, correct?
Oh, it's Neshoba Valley, right, okay.
Yeah.
Have you talked to her about coming?
Oh, we have, yeah, and she's coordinating it with
Yeah.
us. Coordinated the event last year with us.
Oh, perfect.
So
She's
it was-
so
oh, yeah.
good
Yes.
at doing
Yeah.
events. Oh,
Yes, this is our next agenda item, but that's a preliminary copy.
Oh, there it is, Neshoba Valley. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
she's great. Okay, good. The last time I went to something like this where it was a community-based EDC that she organized, it was fantastic. It was in Shirley, and it was at at the Bull Run. Have you guys ever been there? And it was the redone pub. And I remember it was the nicest thing, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a breakfast meeting. Is that what this one is? Yeah. But I remember I was like really stressed out, and I walked in there, and someone handed me a glass of wine within about 2 minutes. And there were, I would say, 10 businesses represented, and about 4 of them were manufacturers that I didn't even know were in Shirley. And I got, I would say, 3 follow-up meetings after that. It was really good. So I'll just kind of explain my agency and what we do. We're very small. It's a true state agency. It's not like a quasi, there's a lot of quasi-publics. So I'm a state employee. There's only about 13 or 14 people in my agency. We have 6 regional directors across the state, so I'm responsible for all of Central Mass. And we're considered an umbrella organization in the state for economic development. And our job, especially because we have such large regions, it's to kind of partner with communities, chambers, all different partners to get out there and just understand what businesses do, what their needs are, and then link them to whatever the appropriate resources that will help them get to what they're trying to get to, or maybe it's a problem, it's a hurdle they're trying to get over. So it's our job to keep up to date on all of those resources, and I mean, it's hard enough for us to do. Businesses certainly can't do it. They're busy running their business. So we make those linkages, we follow up, and we'll facilitate meetings with whatever these resources are, or maybe just send a link to them. And so some examples would be Workforce Training Fund grants, which is very, very common request. Everybody talks about needing to train their employees, no matter what size they are. Help finding skilled workers. Sometimes it's if it's a very small business, sometimes they can use some help with either they don't have a business plan, or they need help tweaking it or expanding it. So we recommend they speak to someone from, I don't know if you've heard some of these organizations, SCORE, which, okay, so they are, stands for, but basically it's free guidance for small businesses, and it's set up with all these volunteers that are retired business people, so they've probably owned their own business. Right. And they just do this for a hobby because they love it. And they usually are stationed at different chambers. I know someone is at the Neshoba chamber a certain day a week, so she would probably speak to that. And then maybe slightly more sophisticated than that would be the small business development centers. And they're a network across the state. They're embedded in economic development, like MBA programs. Mm-hmm. So the one for Central Mass is at Clark University. And I'm a little bit biased, but I think they're probably, if not the best, one of the best of those, the members of that network in the state. And they're very creative. They teach.
Didn't they just give some money to a young man who came up with a pretty creative?
Oh, it wouldn't have been.
There's something on the news just recently about Clark and that program.
So,
I think.
Okay, well, you know what? One of the things, so they'll sit down and give free guidance, whether it's a small company just starting a company, or sometimes it's a company that is fairly mature, but they need to kind of change their focus and change. And so they teach the counselors there, and they tend to be older because they've run businesses. This is like their second or third career, and they teach in the MBA program. And so every year, they will twice each semester, they'll solicit for projects in the community, usually, a business problem.
Right.
And then they will pick one each semester for the students to work on. Do you think that's what it was?
Probably, because I've heard of this before. Because I know that, did you ever present at the MEDC, Marlboro Economic Development Corporation?
Yeah, well, I did it was held at the Union Station.
No, this doesn't matter. Okay. But I agree with this whole program. I think that there's some great entrepreneurs out there that really need help with a business plan. It's not innate. I mean, understanding how to run a business is not, it's a skill. And
usually they're into it because of some other creative idea they had, not because of business.
They have great ideas, they just don't know how to execute on it, and bring that together is fantastic.
What was the name of that program?
So it's the Small Business Development Center, SBDC. Okay. And there's someone from there that usually has hours at different chambers, and they might have hours at her chamber, at Melissa's chamber as well. But that would be a couple of things that I would mention to a really small company or an entrepreneur. I might also mention maybe, and I don't know, I'm going to be focusing on the town. So I don't know if you guys have really inexpensive space for businesses, like a little mini, or do you have anything like that? In Bolton?
There's some office space. I don't know that there's a whole bunch of
There's no incubator space.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that, and you could loosely call it that, and someone
That's what I could market it.
Yeah, if someone has business space and they've got a lot of access,
and
they're a bit altruistic.
I think it's Bolton Office Park. They're the ones that have a lot of the office space that doesn't have people in it at this point. the only ones I can think
I mean,
of.
Bone Corner has some office space available right now, I think like 1,000 square feet, and eventually, I think like 2,500 square feet when Clinton Savings Bank moves, but
Right.
Dr.
But
Davis?
Paragon might have
I was gonna say,
some.
what, doesn't Paragon want to sublease
Yeah.
it all?
Yeah.
So they, when I say incubator, I mean, people use different terminology, but it can be just that someone has excess space, and they have a kitchenette, and they are willing to rent out very small spaces for really affordably, provide a kitchen space, provide an address, provide like printer,
Right.
and then it can get more and
do
more
that.
sophisticated.
And he's in Bolton office,
But like a lot of the other offices might not have that kind of stuff, but he actually has that. So I know he's got a couple offices in there.
Yeah.
our former chairman.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's in that building, and I think he's kind of that he's in a little bit, or he had it renovated.
Mhm.
So I don't know if every space has what he has in that building. I don't know how the office space is broken up.
I don't know, I mean, it's.
It's just
Bolton
kind of a
office.
concept.
Yeah.
Sure,
that
we could find out. I think it's
Yeah,
great.
we could find
I
out.
could just kind of throw that out as
Sure.
a thought, and maybe, as that, the business park is evolving, people could kind of think about
It'd be great
that.
that, make sure that Condyne is on our invite list.
Oh, yes,
or the.
definitely.
Yeah.
They're on the master list, but we can certainly, yeah.
Do you, is there some, but, we just have you listed, I know I'm jumping ahead to the next,
No, it's
the next
okay.
topic, which is the agenda for the meeting. Is there a couple buzzwords we could put next to your name? Because we just have you down as a speaker.
Oh,
We just
I
said-
will update
and I
you.
really jumped ahead, actually, I'm the one that did that. So, regional director is my title. So, what were you thinking as a buzzword?
Well,
Just kind of,
I'm wondering whether, we actually call you out a little bit more prominently here. Because we just say guest speaker,
Oh,
is Bolton
where?
EDC, the International Bolton Town Planner. This is what Melissa was helping us do.
Yeah.
We originally had bullet items, but I think she's working with the space constraints, but
Oh,
I
okay.
think we have really wanted to actually have the bullet items. Something that we could say more about your office, that, maybe a potential business might say, oh, I gotta come
Just like
here.
like a mission statement kind of thing.
yeah.
Well, we can't really put a whole mission.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like a sentence. Yeah.
Can we fit in another
Well,
line maybe
can-
after that?
Connects,
Think about it.
businesses to resources. Well, you know what, I got sidetracked, so I'll just finish giving you this little high-level thing, and then you guys maybe will come up with something. So, those were just examples of what those are the kinds of resources that we provide to really small businesses, but, it goes from very small to, I've worked with St. Gobain and Nipro, big plastics manufacturer in Clinton, on tax credits, and
okay, sure.
I help companies, my agency, help companies find sites, manufacturing facilities, or smaller incubator
Right.
space, or you name it, financing, non-traditional financing, exporting advice, I could go on and on, but we're supposed to be the ones that you come to find out, I've got this problem, I've got this challenge, or we're doing really well and we're about ready to invest, and we're trying to figure out where to invest and what you have for incentives if we do invest. So it's linkages, it's resource connection, but we have so it's connecting to others, but we do have one resource ourselves, and that's the Economic Development Incentive Program, and that's tax incentives for companies that are investing in creating jobs. So, it's kind of hard to think of how to say that, summarize that.
Broad portfolio of.
But maybe, just a resource connector, business resource connector or
I'm
something.
wondering whether we say that you're our featured
I
guest
was
speaker.
just gonna say that, yeah.
Instead of, all this stuff, we actually say featured guest speaker.
That's what I was thinking. Take it out and put it in a second line
Yeah, just,
underneath, so it's
Well, I'm-
separate from the other.
yeah,
guest
I'm
speakers.
wondering whether we make it even a little bit more prominent than that, kind of small. I'll have to work with Melissa on that. But, because it sounds like that could be a real added benefit to the businesses coming to the breakfast, is to really hear some of your insight. There is one business in Bolton that went after a TIF. And
Paragon. I know
Okay.
about that story.
Okay,
They weren't doing enough to increase the assessed value of the property, and that's how you get a TIF.
yeah.
I don't know if would you like me to just give you a quick summary of how the tax incentive works, or will your eyes glaze over? I don't need to talk about it, but if you want to understand it a little.
I've heard it more than once, but I don't know if others want to.
So why didn't Paragon?
Well, because, so there's two levels. Our program, there's two levels of tax relief. One is a break on property taxes, and the other is an actual tax credit on the company's Massachusetts state income tax. So to get to that, they have to be able to get a TIF from the community. So the TIF is if you buy a building and it needs extensive renovations, but you haven't bought it yet, but you go to the community and you say, you know, I'd like to invest in this, and these are my detailed plans, but I'd like to see how you can assist me. So the assessor would look at, well, this is what this property is assessed at now, and then the assessor could project, this is what the assessed value would be if this gentleman made these investments. So then he looks at the difference. That's the increment, so it's tax increment financing. And so the community would offer exemptions on the new taxes, not the existing, so they're not giving away any, which is a common misconception.
Right.
It's they're incenting new investment to happen.
Right.
And the community can provide anywhere from 5 to 100% exemption on the new taxes. And they can be in place for anywhere from 5 to 20 years. So it's something that can be customized by the project in any community. And the reason did not qualify is because that was a beautiful building and they were not investing enough. They weren't really putting in a lot of upgrades.
We actually heard it had something to do with that they weren't manufacturing.
Right, that's how it was described.
Oh, no, that's a different thing. That's another thing. Okay. Manufacturers in Massachusetts, without even applying to this program, there's automatic tax benefits that they get because the state has been working very hard to incent manufacturers to stay here and grow or come back from overseas. So there's a lot of benefits because manufacturing is very capital and intensive. You know, you need a lot of employees, not as many as you used to, but still. And there's a lot of investment in machinery, and they have big facilities, and now a lot of companies are getting into medical device related stuff, and so they have to have clean rooms, and it's very, very expensive. So anyway, if a manufacturer is classified as such with the Department of Revenue, their personal property tax is 100% exempted. So a manufacturer's personal property tax can be higher than their properry tax because you think of all the machinery.
Right.
So if they were not classified that way because the DOR didn't consider them a manufacturer, because what they did was distribute.
Refurbish.
Right, so they refurbished, but they also distributed new, because I toured it. I toured their old facility, and that was a big part of their business, is they dealt with refurbished, but they also dealt with new stuff that they just stored as a warehouse and then distributed. And I think they certainly were refurbishing to a great deal some things, but they had to prove it. They had to apply and appeal, and then they finally got it.
So they should have known even before they moved here then that they weren't eligible for that. No?
Well, I don't know what was happening in their previous community, because it would have been the same thing.
There was just some sort of miscommunication is what I think happened.
But that, that's separate from the whole TIF, why they didn't get the TIF.
I think we completely misunderstood that. But
I can understand how that happens.
actually, recently they're adding solar panels to their roof, and which is going to cover a lot of. Is that an improvement to the facility?
Not really. It doesn't make. You'd have to talk to your assessor
Yeah,
It's really up to each community's assessor.
because that would add, I would think, some type of value.
I don't
Or
know.
equipment value or something, no?
I'm not sure how assessors would value that.
They may not even own the panels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they might not own the panels, it might be a
Right.
lease thing.
Space.
Yeah, I remember
Well, the
them
energy
saying
is
that.
going to them though, I mean, it's gonna cover like
Right.
70% or whatever their
Right.
operating costs.
Talk to your assessor. That's a good question for them. I've never been asked that question. But anyway, so that, yeah, I know that they were upset about that they didn't get the TIF, but the town couldn't give them one. So,
So that's the tax, what is it?
incremental financing, TIF.
Right,
So if you know, I mean, that's a really good thing to get out there because it's a carrot, to kind of,
so they would have to come in and drastically renovate the building in order to get
well,
that.
it doesn't necessarily have to be drastic, but if it's enough to make it worth their while to apply,
So if we talk to the
Yeah.
assessor, so is it too late for them to get the TIF now?
yeah, it's an incentive, so it has to be.
So they're already here, so.
Yeah.
What about 626 Main Street? The gentleman that just renovated the salt box, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
So he already did it, right?
He is.
Is in the process of
In the
doing it.
process, it's not complete yet. So he would have had to,
Before he
Apply
bought
for.
it, and
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of up to the community. Certainly for a tax credit, the state would say no if it's already underway. But, communities can kind of play with that a little bit if you think the townspeople would go for something like that, but usually the best time, and then it has to be approved at town meeting.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, so the TIF has to be approved at town meeting.
Yes. When is your town meeting?
May.
May 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I had a quick question without digressing. So obviously TIFs are important, but in your experience, what are some of the other things that businesses look for? Because I've always found it interesting. I do this in another community in Marlboro, and amenities are huge for some of these businesses. They have a lot of employees. They want them to be able to have stuff around them.
Yeah, I know.
Could you tick off 1, 2, or 3 things that are kind of important to businesses and what you've heard?
Well,
Because Bolton unfortunately doesn't have a lot. That's the
but you've
biggest
got
challenge.
great highway access.
That's true. Absolutely. That
So
we do
it's
have.
so easy to get here.
Right.
The number one.
I mean, I think that's.
What are some of the other
biggest-
things that some of the larger employers are looking for? Obviously, they're looking for food and other amenities.
Well, obviously the water and the sewer,
Right.
especially manufacturers.
Sure.
it keeps coming back.
Sure.
As a major issue.
Yeah. Refresh my memory. What do you guys?
It's private.
Yeah.
private, all
Both.
private.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one situation that they have built I don't even know what you call it, the community sewer.
For the schools.
Yeah.
At the school.
Town buildings in the schools
Yeah.
have a,
Water treatment
Treatment.
plant.
Oh, okay.
but it couldn't be used for it can't be used for public.
For
It can't be
private?
used for private, sorry.
Private, yeah.
It only can be used for those public, because it's not big enough to
Right.
support everything.
So where's the nearest water and sewer? Are there adjacent towns that are?
Hudson.
Hudson,
Hudson.
probably.
Have you ever negotiated with them on connecting? Would that be really difficult? Is it too far?
I think the cost to put in sewer in a rural community like Bolton would be really high.
Yeah.
There's a lot
In the
of
town,
rural
there aren't enough.
117 might be an option, but anything beyond that.
You'd have to
would
go
be a
all the way
real
down 85 to
I mean,
bring
I
in
know-
Hudson,
A
right?
lot of small country roads. in this
And it-
Towns like Sterling have done town water and then private septic.
Yeah.
So it's more likely that water would eventually be public.
Yeah, I'd
Well-
agree with him on that because
Yeah.
water's easier to put in, and then once you have water, your septic systems can move around a lot
Right.
more. Now you get
Exactly,
more
'cause you have the
options.
well.
You don't have the wellhead problem with the setbacks,
Yeah.
so
So would you say water is easier?
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
easier.
So Paragon, what, do they have, is there on-site water treatment
Yeah.
there? Oh,
It's
okay.
it's an on-site public water supply probably because
Water
it's such a
supply.
big building, they probably have to have a certified public, which requires is it 200-foot buffer zone around the wellhead, just to have the
Probably.
wellhead. And then they have a private sewer,
Oh, they do, okay.
so.
Well,
yeah.
if you also like at our meeting last year at Bolton Financial Group, I mean, he gave us a tour of the building and the amount of money he had to put into the fire suppression system with different pumps and holdings. I mean, it's huge, so. not having private, because he has to have he has private water, so he has to have a separate tank that's pressurized.
Well, was that already there?
No.
No, we had to put it in.
Yeah.
Because of new
Because of
regulations?
the square footage of the property.
But he didn't add on to it, right?
Well, he renovated
renovated
the
We
it.
building.
renovated the building.
Yeah, now the barn is like.
Yeah, the barn.
Oh, I'm sorry, who are you talking about?
And we switched it,
Sorry.
now we're talking about
The building
renting
across
our-
the street with that
Yeah.
big beautiful
Sorry,
barn.
yeah.
Oh.
I was just saying, like, just as an example, it's tough for businesses because they have to put in fire suppression systems.
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, was what Mark just talked about, which is the fact that it almost becomes a math problem, because if you have a wellhead
Yeah,
and then your septic system goes bad, you know, we have an office up the street here, and it's a nightmare, because you run out of, especially if you have wetlands that surround you, there's a lot of ledge in this community, then all of a sudden, then you have to go for a variance because the buffer around that well.
You had to drill one in the middle of your parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
To get one in. I remember seeing it go in, I'm like, what is he doing?
Exactly.
Oh, wellhead.
It's a
not
nightmare.
good.
It's a challenge
Yeah.
for communities.
That's, yeah, that's a huge challenge.
Probably the biggest challenge,
Yeah.
I'd say.
I know I've heard some people talk about expanding the septic system or something like that, but even if you could have like along Main Street, like a public water supply, that would help with growth, potentially.
Yeah,
There's some way to
if
expand the well system.
Right, I think if 117 were to be developed, I think that services would be a requirement,
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah, oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, access to highway and infrastructure, those are the, you know.
Right.
And then after that, marketing, you know, the community, I think I mentioned that too.
Yeah, which is interesting. I never thought it was, but it's true.
Yeah, have you been to events where site selectors speak?
So I've heard Barry Bluestone speak.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
And so,
Oh, did
yeah.
you go to the event in Clinton?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I saw him in Worcester, actually. He was
Okay.
at the Worcester Business Economic Forecast, or whatever it was. He was excellent.
Yeah, I've seen.
Really good.
Isn't he? He's
Oh,
great.
yeah.
And yeah, that's like what they say is the number one, as long as you have what we just
Which
talked
was
about.
surprising. I didn't think
I know.
marketing would be that, but it is. It's
Yep.
absolutely the number one thing.
And so having a good website for the town that, you know, because site selectors are acting in a very stealthy way,
Mhm.
and they don't want to engage a community until they've done all their research.
Right.
So that's one thing,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't really do much about the water and sewer when we do have 105, but over the past couple of years, we have been trying to advance the marketing, what we can do.
Yeah, and you know, one thing, I mean, it's common sense, it's just people don't have time, but to have a link, you know, first of all, the main page, have it be business friendly. You know, someone goes there and you say open for business or whatever, and then you immediately have a link of sites that are available, you know. You have a link
Yeah.
that goes right to that, and play up the good things, you know, play up the
Is that
access.
site back up and running now?
Yeah.
You should check it out. We also, we
Okay.
have like a Facebook page where we try to, it's Destination Bolton, what is the
What
website?
did you say?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
so,
good.
so maybe like put the space more at the forefront of the webpage?
Yeah, I mean-
Maybe have it feed in or something like that?
Have it be, you know, one click away or something,
Okay.
but, you know, just definitely mention the community, if you feel that's true.
You know,
is
Condyne
business
has
friendly.
space, they're really trying to sublet, they'll like lease out, and I know Paragon is trying to lease
Yeah.
out space big time.
Well, that's one thing, we're trying to fill up open space, and Lisa made a pretty awesome webpage, and we've been manning the Facebook site, like trying to just pick in certain businesses and, you know,
That's great. Boy, it's good to have your talent.
Definitely.
That's wonderful. So, yeah, so have that be, you know, like for instance, and I mean, it's a completely different kind of community, much larger, but the city of Leominster, you go on their homepage and you know that they're business friendly. You just know it. A great place to live, work, and play.
Right.
And they-
the mayor is very much
Oh,
behind
it's
it.
unbelievable.
Yeah, he is.
And they, you know, they've got a full-time economic development coordinator. Now, of course, again, it's a bigger community,
Right.
and it's much more industrial,
City of
commercial.
Alma's done the same thing.
Oh, yeah, they're
The
unbelievable.
region is 100% behind it.
Yeah.
The EDC, which is that entity that.
Have
Yeah,
your web pages? I just want to put the URL in the,
so I would
Ready
just
for
do
you?
City of Leominster, just
Ready
pump.
for you.
so that's it.
Yeah, ready for
Try
you.
that, ready for you.
Yes, that's that town page is saying.
Yeah,
We have
they're
a
actual,
town,
yeah.
we
Yeah,
have
business
we have a
industry,
Bolton
we're
town
ready
page,
for
but
you.
then our EDC page was separate, but you find it if you search Bolton.
Yeah, and you know,
I'm ready for you.
you just think about what your identity is and play that up. Don't try to be what you're not, you know,
Right.
just play up what you are.
Fitchburg has
And,
the Fitchburg.
you know, then you could maybe put a link to different business resources, so, or, I mean, depends what you're trying to do with it. You could, have you, I'm sorry if I'm
That's a
repeating
really
some of
cool
these
picture.
questions from our meeting, but the 43D, do you have, you know, so the streamlined permitting, do you have any of those sites, do you remember?
I don't remember talking about
Okay.
it, I'm not sure.
Okay, this was a program that came out a few years ago, and it was all about trying to change the perception of communities in Massachusetts as being really difficult when it comes to permitting.
This is amazing, because this is
Yeah.
all the exact stuff we've been
Yeah.
talking
Oh,
about.
good, okay. So, they called it, it was called, the law was Chapter 43D, and it was called expedited permitting. And at the time, so there's no grants now, but at the time, there were grants given to communities if they committed giving an answer on permitting on commercial and industrial land. So giving an answer, yes or no, within 180 days. And there were communities that said, we already do that. But the perception wasn't out there that they already did that, you know? So the state would, so the community had to apply.
So we
and
missed this one.
they had to, yeah, didn't, the grants lasted all of about a year or two. So the application had to, so the community applied and would say, these are the sites that we're calling our priority development sites. We have permission from the owners to list them as such, to designate them as such. It had to be approved at town meeting because the community was promising an answer in 180 days. And if they didn't give an answer in 180 days, the answer would be yes. It would have to be yes. And so as part of that, they also had to say, this is how we're going to streamline our permitting, which will allow us to give
Right.
that answer in 180 days. And so the grant would be to help them get ready to be able to do that.
Right.
And so the grant went away, but I've been on the the Interagency Permitting Board for the last 4 years, and we still get applicants because, no, it's not a grant, but it makes those sites, it raises the profile of those sites for state programs like infrastructure grants. Whenever, you know, I get calls, or any of my colleagues get calls about sites, the first list we look at is the priority development sites, because they have to, and the other part of that, obviously, is not only that the community is streamlining their permitting, but also that it's pretty much shovel-ready. You know, that there's no like huge hurdles to it
Sure.
being developed. And that was for commercial and industrial, and the program also allows communities to do that for housing, because the governor, previous governor, had made, you know, housing, the production of multi-unit housing a priority too.
Well, that's kind of
So-
interesting, because Barry Bluestone will tell you that's one of the challenges too, is the whole process. And one of the things you learn is not all business, and I get it, not all businesses are created equal to learn.
Right.
And what people don't realize is the soft costs of going through the permitting process are enormous.
Yeah.
And depending upon the size of your business, it can be prohibitive in some way.
And that's way up there in priority too, because time is money.
Yeah.
Right, so if you look at, for example, we have a bank that's moving in, and I would imagine that, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I would imagine they would say that there were some challenges to getting through all the various boards, and the challenges are okay, everybody wants to stay in the process. But
Yeah.
what people don't sometimes realize is that the costs associated with that, every time you come to a meeting, you have to bring maybe an engineer, and that adds to the cost of doing a project, and I think we have to be respectful of that sometimes, and we have to
Right.
at least be aware of
I
it.
mean, part of the attitude, it's gonna be tough to overcome it though, because Bolton is a different town where people would err on the side of not getting, you know, they'd rather, you know, unless they, you know, like you said, you know, every board is involved. So like our last meeting, we were talking about how can we review the process and figure out how to streamline it, because, like, I don't know, they probably weren't, Clinton Stevens made 20 plus meetings, I don't know. Or
Yeah, and I
around
think that most people would argue that they're okay with that. They respect that
Yeah.
there needs to be a vetting process. Where I
Yeah.
think they get frustrated is when it's not quite clear and you have to keep going back and back and back. And every time you
Yeah.
go back, there's a cost associated with it. It's either an opportunity lost by doing something else, or it's a soft cost of bringing along an engineer and an attorney.
And it's
fine.
getting
It adds, and it doesn't add any value. That's the thing. It does
And-
not add any value.
The biggest thing is when you go back to something and it's like, oh, I think I have everything, and then one more thing comes
That's
up.
exactly
And then
it.
one more
You
thing comes
probably
up.
saw that when you
That's
did your
exactly
project.
it.
Okay, so
in
here's what
Bowling
I would love to do. We had talked about,
Yeah.
Clinton Savings Bank had already gone through the process. We said we were going to review the process and
Map
get
it.
back
Yeah,
and
map
map
it.
back out. We still have not done that.
No.
So we need to do that. That would be a very interesting thing to review with you.
I have a link. I was program when I first came out, when I worked at the Regional Planning Commission in Worcester, and I actually contributed, as did many other people, to a best practices manual
Mhm.
for communities to give them ideas of streamlining their permitting. And then it was sent out to every community, and obviously it's, God knows where it is,
Yeah.
you know, but I believe there's still a link to it, so I can send you that. But I
That would
can
be great.
I can tell you one really common sense thing is, and you guys just brought up one of the biggest problems, is to have a pre-permitting meeting
Right.
with every department head, every board represented, that person sitting there, and just going over everything that applicant will need,
Right.
so that
No one's surprised.
no one's surprised, and it lessens the
Yeah.
time.
Right.
What
And I
are the
think it's,
chances of those getting set up? Are those, is that a doable meeting?
It's very doable.
Yeah, I
We
think
actually
so.
did do it for Clinton. I did it for Clinton Savings Bank and the assisted living facility, where I sat down with all the department heads and we went through it. And that's sort of how I created those comment
Excuse me,
Yeah.
letters.
but you're suggesting you sit down with the business though? That the business be
include
present?
the
Yeah,
applicant.
the business is
Sure.
present
The business
for
is
the
present.
meeting and can ask questions, do I need this, do I need that, of all the individual.
Well, when we went to the selectmen's meeting to go over this year, what it's called, but they actually asked if, because this is sort of a new group, like 4 years old maybe,
Okay,
What is
Right.
it, the EDC?
Yeah,
Okay.
Starting 2010.
yeah. So they asked us, to get more involved in that. So it's kind of like this is kind of what we make out of it. So that's one, thing that there's just so much we want to do that it's tough to
But
get it. That is one
that
thing.
would be a really good thing, because it's great to have the planner sit down and have, that you've, handled everything, that we know that you're right on it. But it would be different to have the business there at the same time,
Yeah.
kind of going through, this is what you're gonna need, and everybody's there. If you could send us that link, that would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, I got a note.
Okay.
The other thing, and you already have that with Erica, is to have a one contact point. So that applicant doesn't have to call this one and that one and this
Yeah.
one and that one,
Yeah.
And you have a lot of volunteer boards, which most towns, every town does,
right.
you know?
Which you have to be respectful of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So I think it's an education piece on both sides. I think the proposed building person, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, business owner, has to understand the process that they have to go through. But I think the boards also have to appreciate the costs and everything that's
Yeah.
associated with. And once you bring those together, I don't think anybody's intentionally trying to make it more
No,
difficult.
no.
I think it's just an appreciation, and it is very costly, especially for a smaller business. Every
That's
time
the
you come back,
expectation, that you're gonna
it's
have that meeting.
probably $2,000 fees.
yeah, so you're not taking any integrity out of the
Right, you don't wanna
process,
do
you're
that.
just making it so it works more efficiently.
Exactly.
And everybody's aware
You bet.
of expectations.
Okay, that's great. I think I would like to say featured guest speaker, Regional Director, Rosemary Scrivens of Massachusetts Office Business Development. Economic Development Incentives and Business Resource Connections.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get that.
It is great to hear this because this is over the past couple of years. These are all things that we've been kind of talking about. So it's kind of kind of like shows us we're in sort of the
Yeah.
right direction.
Yeah.
And the last time we had you talk, it was just about TIF, because our focus of the group here was taxes, taxes, taxes.
Yeah, right.
And I think this, even though taxes are a piece of the economic development
Yeah.
incentive, it's really just a piece of what your office is really offering.
Yeah, because it's to help communities.
Yeah.
To understand what their tools are too.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So Wednesday, April 29th, you can be at the International at 7:30 a.m. for a light breakfast meeting.
I've never been to the International.
Oh, that's great.
Place room,
The
that's
fireplace
nice.
room, yeah, it's very nice. And we reviewed the setup, and it's really going to be, we have the whole fireplace room, so it's going to be really nice.
Oh, good.
And that's something you brought up, like you talked about the one you went was kind of after work, sort of like drinks more so. The reason why we decided to go breakfast is just because we kind of thought, and I think it went over pretty well, was that people run businesses are more free in the morning versus at the end of a long day.
Why are you smiling
That
like
was
that?
because he's echoing my, yeah, I mean, I always feel that.
Yeah, I
by
think
6
that's.
o'clock, you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
home
I
to my
agree.
family.
Yeah.
I'd rather get up a little earlier than, you
Yeah.
leave the office and you're like, okay.
That was
Great,
highly
but-
unusual, by the way. That
Yeah.
was the first and
Yeah.
last time I've ever been to one like that, and I wasn't intimating that you should do that too.
Well, I've seen that her, what's her name, Mary's group, she does have a lot of like drink, after.
Melissa?
Melissa,
Melissa's-
sorry.
Oh, yeah, because she's got the after hours
Yeah,
networking things.
Yeah.
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 I
But,
just went to one of her events. It was a tri-chamber event. I go to the tri-chamber events. They're always fantastic because there's usually like tri-chamber, 3 chambers.
was it a networking in the evening?
It was a morning one. This one wasn't as big as the last one, but the last one had like 200 people.
Wow.
It was that
Did you
big.
go to the speed networking
I
thing?
just went to the one the other day, yeah.
That's, I was there for that
Oh, you
too.
were over
Yeah.
at Devon's Common?
Yes,
Oh, that's so funny.
yeah.
So yeah,
I've
no,
never
that
done
was,
that before.
it's really good to bring the chambers together too, because I met people that weren't in that chamber I never met, but they're still close to me here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, like I met the people from Thoreau Club, there's someone
Oh.
from there, some businesses sort of more, a little bit, I guess, north of here, North Middlesex type businesses that I
Yeah.
would never run into,
I
but they're
met-
still close enough.
I met a development firm, and, so they build to suit. And they just started, and I said, wow, we got to partner with our program, because a developer can use that as a carrot. They can say, hey, if you let me build for you, let me tell you about this tax program. I know Rosemary Scrivens, and she can explain the whole thing for you. It just gives them, we all, like, I love to have more and more tools in my toolbox, because it just makes you feel like you can help more. So the more, and I've been meeting with a lot of bankers, so if there's bankers there,
Well, we're going to invite Clinton Savings Bank, so hopefully they will come.
because it's good for them to know, because obviously they'll know if someone's come to them and is looking for a real estate loan
Yeah.
or equipment loan, they can, it's again added value, so.
Okay, that's great.
I think our attention to the last one was pretty regional, not just Bolton too.
We had a few people,
Oh.
because Melissa reached out to
great.
the Great Wolf Lodge.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
They had a great event up there.
Mhm.
I think a 5-chamber event.
That was the one I went to,
Oh,
that's
you
like
went to
200
that too?
people were there.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
The
That was like
food
6 months ago,
was
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Food was
Well, we're just
unbelievable.
having light.
Good.
Oh, no, that's okay.
So, how many people are we allowed to have at this? It says it's limited.
The fireplace room really holds they're going to charge us $11 a head.
And so it's based on our budget? Is there admission or anything like that, or can
No.
we- Okay.
No, I mean, if we have 50 people attend, it'll be $550.
Well, it's actually not bad though.
And that's a really reduced rate. You have coffee and fruit and yogurt and, the normal, but light.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. We have the whole fireplace room. It is really, I went through the setup, and we're gonna have a big U, and then the screen in the front. So we'll talk about as we get closer. And then Melissa is going to send these out to our distribution, our now list of businesses, plus any that she has.
Mhm. So you mentioned a screen
Mm-hmm.
for,
Well, if anybody has any presentation.
oh, okay. I really don't.
Yeah,
I
that's good.
just talk.
That's great.
We're so small and we have no marketing budget, speaking of marketing. So we don't really, we've had different things in the past where they've gotten dated, so.
I think people will find this very helpful, and especially when we say that you're the featured guest speaker. So I'm definitely going to get on that tomorrow to make the edit
Okay,
with Melissa, and then she's going to send this out.
okay, good.
Okay, great.
Great.
Do you have cards?
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna need to call you.
And, sure.
I wanna know how to become a state, official state women-owned business.
Oh, yeah. Yep, the SDO, Supplier Diversity Office. I don't know if anybody else, you certainly know how to reach me.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm sure we can Google and find you pretty easily on the state website.
Yeah.
So it's good. Well, thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing
Yeah.
you. You're welcome to stay, or
Yeah.
don't feel bad if you need to leave. So.
Okay, if you don't need me, then I'll just,
That's great.
get home and have my late supper.
But
My
I
dog's
Google
waiting
and
for
to
me,
find
so.
out, Google her name, bring up the state website where she is on it.
Well, I think we're going to skip over our next agenda, because that was the outline of the agenda.
Is this all for me? Can I take?
I think it might be duplicates in there, but feel free to take it off.
Oh,
or
oh.
just-
This is all public information.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You may not want some of it, but.
Okay, so I'll take this.
Yeah, that's great. That's our business listing.
What's the difference between the one she has behind and this one?
So this is sorted by tax bill, and I just did the top.
And is it the same one
Taxpayers.
sorted by tax bill?
This is sorted by business name. So this has.
Okay, that'll be helpful.
Yeah.
All right, I'll grab that then. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much, that was so educational.
Oh, good. All right, well, I'll see you on the 29th.
Could you just give us a couple of, like you had brought up the setup for what you talked about?
Okay, so does everybody have this? If you could take a look at this, this is, we actually have gone through several edits with Melissa. And we were thinking, starting at 7:30, going to 9 AM at the International. This is the same format that we had last year. We were going to, the EDC was going to make an introduction, introduce Erica to the group. You know, you hope that everybody would know who the planner is. That would be good. If not, it'll be a great introduction. We're not sure exactly who from the International was going to speak. It was either going to be Dan Wiedock or Paul Jordan. We will decide as we get closer to the event. Get a little bit of history about the International, whatever they want to say, and then go into Rosemary Scrivens, you know, her featured guest speaker. Melissa Federhoff from the Chamber of Commerce will say a little bit of stuff like she did last year. And I thought we could get a update on the Bolton Town Common. We're obviously trying to market towards businesses, so that would be,
They'll have the presentation then, right? So
yeah, March 27th is the unveiling.
is there gonna be, well, I mean, when you're involved, is there gonna be some poster boards or something maybe you can bring along?
Yeah, we will have an official unveiling on the 27th of March.
So I'm saying, could you bring it to this meeting?
Oh,
I don't know,
yes.
just a thought.
When it's unveiled, which is March 27th. You can,
And I'm just saying, this is April
29, so.
29th, so well, it'll be unveiled. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you had the poster boards available or
yes,
something.
our next meeting I will bring that.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Is there any businesses we missed inviting possibly, or that we could possibly miss?
On here?
inviting, that might not be on here, that,
I don't know, this is pretty all-inclusive.
Okay.
I think we should follow up with phone calls on them.
okay.
I'll talk to the Clintons.
Like now, there's like that popcorn
Yeah, I
guy.
know both. Ron
He's on there.
and
He's on there,
Jay.
good, okay.
I think
Yep.
they'll come.
I think that'll be really good. You
Yeah.
know, I really want to
I
make sure
agree.
that they are
Dog walking
okay.
company.
I agree, and I think that
That
they'll
I
be
love,
there because
something
they're gonna be
like-
part of
I
it.
really
Lucy
They're
Love.
part of
I-
it.
They were at the last one, so.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'll
But
ask
actually,
if
they
Ron
just
Wallace
sent,
or Rich
they
Haywood
just
can
sent,
go.
exactly, they just sent a branch manager.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if they can or not, but I can
Yeah.
ask them.
That would be great. So that's what we should do, you know, after we should decide of, you know, the International's already gonna be there, Murphy Insurance is already gonna be there. You know, I'll call Ray Grenier, make sure Ray, and then anybody else who we think we should target should get a phone call.
What about the Kalon Farm people, should we invite them?
Well, that's a great idea. I mean, they're local. I
Yeah.
mean, they might not be from Bolton, but,
But they're definitely gonna feed off some of that
Mhm.
Bolton business.
yeah.
So that one of
I
the
did think a
connection.
very interesting topic was in the Bolton Independent when they showed the Carlin farm and how they were or weren't going to compete with Bolton. It was interesting.
I felt like it competes a little bit.
Well, it has to. I thought it was an interesting take on the farm that they were saying that they weren't competing, but I don't see how.
Well, they don't really do their needs.
It's not like completely competing.
Bolton Orchards.
Bolton Orchards doesn't really do meat.
Yeah.
They have a few little pieces of meat there, but
They had
They don't,
contemplated it.
yeah, they don't do it like those guys do it. I
Yeah.
mean, those
they
guys.
should have partnered and created like the meat and Bolton Orchards together.
I went into Carlin, I thought it was really cool.
It's
Yeah,
good meat.
yeah, I just have to
Yeah, chicken
understand
bones
how
boiling
to
right now.
defrost.
I'm like, if I'm gonna pay $20 for chicken wings, I'm gonna boil those
I'm gonna
things and
eat
get
every
soup for like
piece of
2
it.
weeks.
I'm gonna eat it all.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, the town common is really interesting right now. So, you know, in 2011, there was a proposal from a group in Bolton for the town of Bolton to purchase the Smith property, and that got turned down. We were actually part of the turning down because we just thought it was too much of a risk for Bolton tax-wise and project management-wise to take on the whole property.
I think
So-
everybody agreed it should be a private.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, the Conservation Trust has purchased the land with secure, loans are secured by the trust. And the task now is to clean it and then to, I don't want to say develop it, but to build it out according to the feedback the Town Common Committee has gotten from the multiple charrette displays at the library and the surveys that were sent out to all families. So now that they have done that, they're about to unveil the design, which is March 27th at the International. It has gone out on Facebook. I think it's about $35, and
I saw it, yeah.
you know, I mean, they are definitely looking for people to donate. I think at the end of the day, they would, you know, we need to raise at least $1 million, you know, and I think we will have a very clean piece of marketable property if it does not go through. The goal is to raise enough funds to actually have the common, which would be great. There'll be some parking there. And hopefully, the 3 buildings here, we have, I call her the lamp lady, Reflections, the old antique store, and the barn. To me, are 3 real potential properties to develop. And the current owner of those properties, this has nothing to do with the common per se, but this is an opportunity for somebody to come in there and develop those 3 pieces.
What's his
of
name? I think I
property.
saw him at the 117. I watched the 117 discussion.
Is it Druitt's?
Right.
I think I saw him commenting and talking about his property and talking
there's
about
a-
the 2-lane thing and
Yes.
stuff.
Right.
So I think that the fact that they raised the old garage is a great step in the right direction. I mean, I think clearly that was an eyesore. I think that that's a big plus. What ultimately becomes, I think, is this potential there, right? The $1 million, I think it's doable. I think it's a fairly ambitious, but they've got the right people who are asking for money.
Trying.
It seems like the economy's getting better too.
Yeah.
Like I see it in my business with my clients, like
Mhm.
a lot of my clients that tell me they're really starting to see a lot of growth.
We've gone through what we call a private phase of fundraising, trying to get high dollar amount investors involved in it. And March 25th is the unveiling to the public. And then we're just going to go into a public campaign. We raised close to $600,000 so far. Very proud of that.
Yeah. You can get the $1 million, and I think I agree with you. I think
That's
that
a
people
good
are
one.
feeling better about their financial situation, and I think that's always a plus.
The library raised $1 million.
I can't believe you've already raised 600,000.
Yeah.
So that's of the 1.2 million or 1.2 million more?
It's unbelievable.
Of the
Yeah.
one, we raised 600.
Oh,
Now, to do the final
Downhill.
build out, they're probably gonna need between 1.4 and maybe 1.6, depending upon how far you go.
yeah.
But I would feel comfortable with the million to clean the property and put a parking lot. And it's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be a really nice place to congregate, be beautiful as far as
It's
the
already
town
better
goes.
than what was there. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Have
know,
you
it was
seen the,
a shuttered.
Have you seen the final
Yeah,
drawing?
I just saw it.
Yeah, I think that it's a
Solid.
huge plus.
Can't give any,
Well, I think if you came to the charrette display,
Yeah.
there were lots of things on the charrette. So there was a pavilion on the charrette,
yeah,
there was an amphitheater on the
Right.
charrette, there was a parking lot on the charrette, there was an outlook on the charrette drawing, there was green space on the charrette. It's not, there's gonna be no it's not like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna build a building, it's gonna be a common.
right.
A real
Right.
place to congregate.
Mhm.
So I think it's kind of exciting what's going on. Clinton Savings
Yeah.
Bank about to go across the street,
Yeah.
626 Main Street, and
Assisted living,
the assisted living,
yeah, it's definitely,
yeah.
Yeah, I think no question about it. I think there's some really positive things, and I absolutely do believe that that was a huge plus,
Yeah.
taking down that building.
Okay, so remember, we have $1,000 budget. What is the end of our fiscal year? Is it June?
It's the end of June.
June 30th. So whatever the head count comes on the event, multiply that by $11. That's how much we will pay. The rest, I don't know if we want to, this year, continue with the brochure.
you should still have money left, you know.
Because I have a proposal if we don't do the brochure.
So anyway, I did like a extremely rough drawing
Okay.
of what I was envisioning it to be in, and then I think we'd have to take this and maybe you'd have a name of somebody we can go to.
I just do that.
So I made a couple of copies of this. It's like pretty rough and ugly, but
Yeah, this is pretty much.
This is about what I can see.
so it's just like a trifold thing where you have, a picture of Bolton or whatever. You open it up and you have sort of like, sort of a map of the town with some type of numbered system. And like, I restaurants, what I put some type of keying, like it's a circle with one. What's going on?
Sorry.
Sorry, that's awesome.
Hockey, right?
To show the hockey team, Central Mass.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
Sorry, it starts with a tweet.
This is pretty important.
Yeah, that's very exciting for the high
My son's
school.
on the JV team.
Wow,
Yeah, that's
wow,
awesome.
that's great.
But yeah, so like dividing it up like restaurants, farms, and just having sort of like a map type thing. And then like one fold, I was thinking could be like, you're more of like a phone number listing, more like just text based, but that's kind of what I was envisioning. I don't know if.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
The only thing is gonna be the map, if we could find something,
Well, you need some type of graphics type person, like,
you
you
know,
know.
we need a map to work off of, even.
Well,
Right.
this is the map. I mean, this is the shape of town.
I mean, we have
Where'd you
that.
find that one?
I
Oh,
was
it
just
just-
gonna say, we can pull something from.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the shape of town. Actually, the roads are pretty legit.
Okay, we can do that.
I put like the major roads.
I just can't put in too many
Yeah.
roads, because it's too small, and I can't put in,
Hmm?
I just can't put in too many roads, it's too small.
Well, I just put the major roads, and even
Yeah.
like, so for instance, if you look, number 4 was the fireplace, it's kind of like in the middle there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you don't have Ballville on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what, that's kinda stinks, because it doesn't really give you directions.
well, but that's why I was gonna have this and like numbers and maybe an address or
Then you
something.
put it in your
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple.
Trying to give a sense
This is-
of where they are.
Right, this is more just like, I was thinking sort of like where you get it at Bolton Orchards or you get it at the Country Cupboard, and if you're coming into town for apple picking, you just open this up and be like, oh, here's a list of restaurants and here they are. I mean, like color scheme, I don't know, like, I know the flag is like red with yellow, sort
Yeah, we can
of.
make it all kinda tie together. with
Yeah,
clear
so
and-
that's what I was thinking, like red with yellow and the picture.
I'm just worried about how many businesses we're gonna be able to fit on it.
I don't know, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is
I like the
Yeah.
Just
idea.
scribble it.
And it's definitely something to think about, like
Yeah.
what exactly, we're not gonna put every mom and pop shop on there.
Right.
Yeah,
I think they'll probably be more retail, consumer oriented.
Well, the
Yes.
farms.
yeah, so I broke it down, I said restaurants, farms, retail,
Public bathrooms? There's no.
and then I had like hobby activities.
There's a good question, will there be a public bathroom at the common?
No, it will not be.
It will not be.
And
Oh.
that's one of the attractions of trying to develop those three.
So like a coffee shop potentially or something.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just where do you intend to distribute these? What do you think?
Well, so, I mean, I was thinking, first of all, when you go into like a town, like a Cape Cod town, there's like a tourist thing, which we don't really have that, but like I said, at the Country Cupboard, Bolton Orchards, places,
Slaters.
even we could give a stack of them to like, when like Bolton Spring Farm is like active. Could you put the stack of these at your register?
Sure, all those
Yeah.
businesses will do that now.
You know what I mean? And I even put on the back here, some type of sponsors ad type thing. I don't know how that works.
Sure.
But this is what I was envisioning. So if we can go to like, I don't know if you have a name or somebody we can go to who does something like this?
Well, I can do the brochure and the map. I can do all that.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know, I might just have to get someone to do the map for me.
Yeah, like a graphics person.
Well, I can do graphics. I just
Okay.
don't, it's just a time factor because I'm busy.
Okay.
So maybe one of my subs can do it.
Or, I mean, I was even thinking if like,
Or if we know someone else
if
in
there was like
town.
a student or somebody at some, college, if we can get them to do some type of project or something. I don't know how creative we can get
Yeah,
with
there's
it.
Mount Wachusett. They have a graphics program.
Yeah, if we can go to them with this
I
and
wonder if it's someone at the high school.
even high school, I'm sure there's
Right.
graphics programs at the high
Yeah.
school. I was thinking somebody in college because then you could add it to a resume that you did the.
But the brochure, this part's easy. I can do all this. I have all the graphics, I have the pictures.
Yeah.
That part's easy.
So I mean, this is kind of just, when you go to a touristy town,
Mhm.
they always have these kind of like cartoony maps with restaurants and just
So if you
everything in
want to do
one
something bigger
location.
like that, Mark had a really good suggestion last time. So there are like these sort of companies you can partner with where they do
Mhm.
these type of things.
Right.
And they sell the advertising and they do all that and they can do like a really big, cool job.
Mm.
But
Oh,
I
like the
just-
big fold-out maps. Yeah, I don't think we need.
Or does it have to be like just like even when you get those flyers, like classic pizza in the mail and stuff
Mhm.
like that? That's how they do it. They have like a company, they sell them the brochures, but they get a sponsor or something, and they are the ones that pay for it. So the business doesn't really pay
So
for it.
what would we lay out?
So we could, well, we wouldn't have to do anything. In that case, we could partner with one of them, and they would sell the space for the businesses for us, and then they would create the map, and they would create the whole thing for free.
Yeah.
Do you know who we could contact for that?
No, I'd have to find someone.
So the
I'd
one
have to
thing
find
is,
out.
I was
I
also
sort of
thinking.
looked, but I wasn't able. I thought you might know somebody because you brought it up last time.
That's,
For the mapping,
Yeah, well, to do like, it's like,
the touristy map,
yeah,
I guarantee with some Google searching, there's gotta be a company out there
Yeah,
that's
that's-
like, you take your town
They
map,
sell
you
the-
throw it
they
in
sell
there and
the
it kinda, they do it for you.
The
they
thing-
would sell
the thing
ads to
with-
businesses in
yeah.
town. They would make the money and they would take that money.
We want to make sure, because we're not just a retail town, that we leave space for farms and a hiking trail starts, potentially something like that,
Every Cape, yeah, but they do that. Every
Yeah.
Cape Cod town
Yeah.
has one of those.
Yeah.
Like South Yarmouth has one, Dennis
Right.
has one,
Yeah.
Harwich has
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So I think if we just contact like the town halls down there,
Mhm.
I'm guaranteed, and they're done by
Mhm.
probably a Chamber of Commerce or somebody, but somebody knows what company's doing those. If you pick it up
Yeah.
on the back, the company's
Yeah.
name, next time I'm at the Cape, I
I
just
could see
grab
what
it.
where those, what Bruce might know, because he does some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, my vision is having this thing that, I use Bolton Spring Farm, like they had this traffic
Mhm.
that, somebody's coming into town right off 195. Like I know friends that, come from, Providence to come up to this area to go to like, which is the one in Stowe with the, I don't know, the big one in Stowe. Honeypot. That's like their trek. Like they come up here, go to, and like, so if this was available, where they'd be like, oh, this is Place Slater's,
Is it helpful to start designing it, just to get the layout?
Well,
And
that's-
then
It would be
and then we
better
can
to
ask-
get the content together first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's hard to design it and then try to put the content in, so if I know what content I need first, then it makes it a lot easier, and then I can leave a spot for this map, and we can worry about the map
Yeah.
at the
But I mean,
end.
I think this is great. I mean, what other information would you need from here?
Well, I need to get all the information together.
Yeah.
So what I want on the
Just
farms.
what restaurants you
Yeah,
want.
what
farms.
restaurants, what farms, the list of them, the
Yeah.
addresses, and we
Yeah.
could pull it all off the website.
Well, we have our
Yeah.
list here too.
Yeah, but we have to decide which ones we're gonna put in, that's my
Okay.
point, not, we
I mean,
can't do all of
I
them.
don't think we have so many that it would be.
I think Rich
too cumbersome.
Pelletier said we have 6 farms.
Yeah,
Because we're going to jump ahead eventually to the welcome sign, but he said there's 6 farms.
Yeah, I mean-
4 are seasonal.
I mean, are there any restaurants in Slater's between these Jay's Fireplace?
And then the only other thing, do classic pizza,
Right,
you know, do we hold a place for 626 Main Street?
yeah.
You know, something like that.
Well, so,
But it can be definitely continuing.
I mean, this could be the 2016 copy,
Yes.
and then we print
Yeah.
500 or so.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's so many out-of-town people that come for
Yeah.
apple picking that these would go fast, and then we have one
Yeah,
for
so
next
we should
year.
have kind of the goal to
Yeah.
have these ready by September.
I think so, probably. Yeah, have it ready to go by September would probably be a good thing.
Mhm. Okay, so let's hold that thought on the expense. I think we should start laying out the
Yeah, we
content.
can do this for free, this part.
Yeah.
It's just the printing that's gonna cost,
Yes.
but we might be able to get a sponsor who will pay for the printing,
Yeah.
so it might not cost us anything.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was like, you know, 4 blocks or
Somebody who
you
wants
sell like.
tourists to come to their restaurant.
Well, I think that
In
most of
summer.
the time, the restaurants and the things that are on the map have paid a
Yeah.
small fee
Yeah.
to be on the map,
Yeah.
which usually covers the printing of the map.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
usually what
Yeah.
happens. So,
However it works, yeah.
Yeah, we could just offer it up, do you wanna pay
Yeah.
for a brochure, we'll put your logo on the back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was kind of envisioning was we try to get everybody on there, and maybe you don't pay just to get on there because we
Not
want to
everybody has a
get,
budget.
not everybody has a budget,
Mm-hmm.
but have a spot where you could prominently display yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think we should move forward with at least laying it out,
Mhm.
and we could talk about, you know we want to put every restaurant that we could think of.
Mhm.
Subway is the other one,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
don't actually have that many,
Mhm.
and we have a couple
Right.
stores,
Yeah.
and then,
I mean,
If
we
you
should be able
wanna
to
take
fit
a stab
everything.
at getting that part together for me, I mean, I get the list from your website, but
Yeah.
I don't wanna guess who you guys wanna put in, or I'll let you do that. And then I'll take care of putting it all together in a brochure, trifold style.
I'll make a crack at the category.
And I'll
chart.
just do it like the website with the
Yes.
red bottom, with the
Yeah.
apple.
is that
and
okay,
picture.
Eric? I actually like the concept
Yeah.
a lot. Okay, we're gonna move along to
Yep.
our next big thing that we've been working on is our review of the Welcome to Bolton sign. Eric, are you ready to do that?
Sure. So back in January, actually, Helene and I reached out to Sign Logic to talk about the design of the Welcome to Bolton sign as well as its costing. So in your packet, I put a printout of the first go-around for the Welcome to Bolton sign that Sign Logic came up with. So I think moving forward, the idea is that this is going to be an EDC / agricultural commission project.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to get EDC's weigh in on the design of it, the colors, which businesses we think we want on it. And also I printed out, Helene had sent me a link to other town welcome signs. So I just printed that as well to give us an idea for examples.
Yeah, so none of these have the wayfinding, but I kind of like having the aspect to it.
well, I think the wayfinding will clean up our, is the goal to
Yeah.
put it down here by the
Yeah.
stone wall?
Get rid of
It's
all
gonna
the
clean
tipped
up
over
that
signs, yeah.
mess
Yeah.
of like
Yeah, that was the goal.
disparate signs,
Yeah.
So
so.
a big piece of who's also driving this is agriculture. So Rich Pelletier,
Mhm.
you know, this has always been a big goal. I don't need to.
No,
interrupt you.
yeah.
Has been a big goal is to, you know, have the signs. He feels that they have 6 farms, 4 are seasonal. So they want to have a way of pulling all their farms together. This particular is not a end-all be-all list.
Yeah.
This is just an example.
Right, exactly.
Um,
So in talking with Sign Logic, they haven't come up with the costing yet because they said at this point they probably need a little more direction on what materials we want to go with, that kind of thing. So I think in talking with Sign Logic, we were thinking that it would be a urethane welcome sign. The main sign would be made out of urethane, and
What does that
then
mean?
What is your sign?
urethane. I know. I think urethane.
Ours is wooden,
Plastic,
actually.
right?
Yeah, it's a plastic, like,
Yeah.
it's probably the same thing
Although
that my
maybe at
sign
this
is made
point-
out of.
Because we've replaced so many that have rotted over the years.
I-
Wooden ones do rot.
They're made out of either an MD something
Yeah, it's-
or
Plastic.
or a total plastic material, which, like they use in the marine industry, that doesn't ever rot, ever.
So my only
So,
point on this, I think it's a great idea. I think located is important too, but given the fact that we've just gone through 6 weeks of hell, where we put this, we have to be careful because snow removal is going to be huge
it's-
and
yeah.
we'll be replacing the sign every, not to say that those who plow would knock it over intentionally.
No, but I
if we
also
had
think
6
we'd
feet
be
of
working.
snow.
No, right, I agree.
We have to be really judicious on where we put it because.
we should look right now where they
Yeah,
push.
only because,
Yeah.
And I
again,
think we should actually go out and look and
I
say,
think at midnight, it's kind of hard to say, oh, let me not push that snow there.
yeah, as a
We'll be-
guy who plows.
So I guess,
Right.
I guess what was happening was that Rich was contacting Eric Shartner, who was contacting the DPW today.
Okay.
And they were trying to get the assessment of what these need to be made of to, number
And maybe
one.
they have some thoughts on where they want to see it.
No,
so
no, I was
that-
just gonna say that. Definitely, I'll reach out.
Because you don't want to, again, put it
Because
someplace
our
where it's
two
going to get blown out by a
thoughts, our two
snowplow.
thoughts were from the southbound and the northbound
Right.
entrances, but you're absolutely right. I mean, where it is
It's gonna be
critical.
crucial.
The other thought, there's been, and then you ask, how do you pay for it, right? So, so agriculture has a budget, or they have some money, and whether there's some private funding on that end along with the budget is to be determined. If we don't spend our budget this year, we, let's say between $300 and $500 that we're gonna pay for the event at the National, we will have like $500 left over. Maybe we could put that towards the sign this year.
I mean, you just raised $600,000 for the town common. You can raise money for this like that.
Yes, Mike. Yes, Murphy Insurance.
No, I think you're right. I think we need to get a sense of what it's going to cost, but I think that the fact that we're going to have a sign, I think is important. The cost is.
Okay, so here are some models, and this is important to
What
work
did the high
on.
school cost? Just out of curiosity.
What's that? He said that was close, he said it was close to $10,000.
Okay, because we asked that last time, how much we
Yeah.
thought that was.
Right.
Wow.
The big arch one?
Yeah.
I got a deal. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I don't know what a sign should be.
Okay,
so I don't
so-
know.
I don't
Yeah.
either.
So Rich had brought up
And he
some.
made my sign.
Right, and he mentioned that, he did your sign.
Yeah, it's done a lot of signs. So
So
Yeah.
he, and we actually went there because you had mentioned it, and then when we talked to Bill Cleary at the high school, they confirmed that that's who they use, so everybody's using the same people. So Rich had talked about some sort of, I don't know how to word it. You were an original investor, wrong word, or original contributor of the inaugural sign, which you pay X. Then that gets you, you help fund the sign, and also, by the way, you also get your name on the sign. Maybe that lasts for 2 years on the sign, and then there's a incremental fee that you pay over time coming into the sign, because you have to also think that, things are gonna change,
Right. Right.
If somebody doesn't pay, you wanna take their name off and put
Right.
somebody who does wanna pay his
So
name
how do you
in.
deal with the taking on, putting off, maybe using like,
It's just a new sign.
Yeah. Well-
I think they're gonna be signs that you can,
Yeah.
change.
Take them off.
That was one of the requirements,
Interchangeable.
Yeah.
that when we spec this out, that you can change the sign.
Yeah, that looks very interchangeable to me, what he's got going on there. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, also, I mean, as a town, you could pay for the basic welcome to Bolton, and then the businesses could pay for their name.
Could do that too.
Sure.
That too, if we have the budget.
Right.
So, it all depends upon, what Sign Logic comes back as a quote. Rich did go out to his vendor that did the Neshoba Winery sign, and what did he say about, was it 1,900?
It was $1,200 for the main sign. And then,
Not posts, this is just.
not poster installation, just for the main
These
sign,
are-
yes.
1,200. And then the larger sub signs were $250 each, the small sub signs were $150 each.
And then we would have two of them. So we would have, one.
Yeah.
So, you could think, if we went with that particular vendor, thinking, well, maybe that would be like $3,000 for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's without the posts and without installation. So we're gonna go back to Paul.
Right.
Right, and ask him, because he specified that it was dependent upon whether we use wood or steel.
For the post.
For the post.
Right. And then whether we use PVC or wood for the smaller signs.
Do they have something like the Aztec deck material? Kind of
Yeah,
looks
so
like
it's like-
wood.
That's what
The trim board
that's what
type
they're
stuff.
talking about for the signs, so when they say plastic, it's like an Aztec.
Yeah.
Is
It is.
PVC gonna be as strong and
They probably
I think
use
the
a
PVC
product called
Is it
Star
gonna
Wars.
float like that?
It won't rock,
PVC
so-
Product
It
ones
lasts
that are
longer.
like open in the middle, so they're not
Use
as
it on
solid.
all the time, so it's
Like the wood posts are
Yeah.
solid wood, so
indestructible
they're,
as far as rock
but the
goes.
PVC ones,
But-
sometimes they're not
So we
solid.
definitely
Right,
have to
you
find
plow
out a
into
little bit
it.
more.
So what we should probably do too is, so that obviously it sounds like agriculture is definitely on board. We should probably ask the restaurants and other businesses whether they'd support it and if they'd be willing to pay a sign fee. And I like your idea, we'll pay for the sign, but they have to pay for all the, because we're gonna need a fund to, this thing over time is
Yeah,
gonna get
it's gonna get-
damaged and
That's right.
Yeah.
the worst thing in the world.
Are we doing
is
one or two? We doing one at northbound and southbound?
That's
Two
the
would be
goal.
Yeah, two's. what
Right.
we're gonna
Now,
have
If we
to
do one down there,
We would have to
110?
have the budget. I think that's really what this is gonna come down to, is really how much this is gonna cost.
I think you start at 495 because that is the gateway to Bolton.
Right.
That's how everybody gets here, when
Right.
they're coming to the fair, when they're, most people.
Sure.
And then if it's successful and we get money in the revolving budget that allows for ones to be added at the main points coming in,
Right.
well, then we can look at that in the
And who
future.
knows, we may have a lot more businesses than we
Yeah,
think,
why?
and they might say,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
idea, and we're willing to pay for the one down there for those businesses.
Is it
Yeah.
something you can start gauging an interest in? at an
Right.
event that's
Rich
coming
knows
up?
that he probably could contribute around $1,400, but he's really interested in the farm piece
Right,
of it.
sure.
So, he would not, really, want to be funding, businesses. However, he also said that he would like to take care of Bolton Orchards and Bolton Spring Farms. That's kind of part of his,
Yeah, I'm sure there would be other businesses that wouldn't mind being part of this, we just have to ask
I mean,
what
you
their
could just look at
threshold
this,
is.
you could just look at the signs that are there
All right, are
now.
they willing to pay
Yeah.
$100 or $300? And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you get a sense of, okay, if they're willing to pay $300, then it gives us a better sense of the type of sign we can have.
What about even outside of Bolton too? Because aren't there signs for like Davis farmland? People,
Right, I think that Mark was talking about, one of the challenges is people put up their own signs now, and I know that the town of Bolton,
You have to be approved by the selectmen for any sign.
okay.
Any. For the
so we
selectmen.
would have to review this
But they
with the
still put
board.
up their signs.
Yeah,
other
and there's
things
some
now, and
grandfathered
there's- There's plenty of signages that, I don't know, maybe they've all
Yeah,
been.
I think we need to,
This would formalize it in a
Yeah.
much better way.
and I think the selectmen need
You're
to
not on
be
it.
behind this to say,
You're not on it.
this is our new signage, everybody has to migrate to
Sure.
this
Yeah,
platform.
definitely.
Yeah, you're on, yeah.
Yeah.
So
You're on it
another-
or you're not.
Yeah.
Another piece of
We're
the
gonna be
feedback
cleaning
is
up
the
the
color.
area.
I would like
The color?
feedback on color.
I love the color.
I like the colors.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think that we actually have a really standout branding to our town. Since we did the sign and all that branding, I think it's a really amazing, and it's firm, it feels like it's firm. and I really like the branding, it really stands out.
He did say that when he does do red, it probably will be like a deeper burgundy-ish red, more so than, I forgot why he said it. I think it's more
Fades
like,
to orange, I believe.
more like your
Yeah, it
your
definitely
sign.
fades
That's
the
over
problem.
time.
Yeah, look at the side of my
Sign.
truck, and that is 2007 to now, and you'll see the only
Sunlight
thing
just
that is
fades the bejeebus out of things.
like totally faded out, you can't even see it, is the red
Red, and
on
he
the
said
side of my
that.
truck.
So he thought the burgundy
I think
has,
burgundy's more like
Yeah,
rural-ish anyway.
he
yeah.
said that that doesn't fade as
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
No, I don't have a problem with
So
that.
the board likes the three colors.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could even do the, and have everything in it red.
We were talking about that, yes.
Yeah,
Right.
and we could still have the same feel.
Yeah.
But what about something more natural for the posts, like something that looks like a
Granite?
stone or concrete or even
Yeah.
a wood?
Plus
Well,
expensive.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna wanna stay away from wood, because wood's gonna rot really
No, that's what I
quickly.
meant,
Yeah.
like the composite decking
Yeah.
material, something like that.
It's gotta be really sturdy, because this stuff's gonna have some force against it when we plow, and stuff when we plow up banks. We have to see where we're gonna locate it, so we gotta be careful about that. We definitely wanna talk to Harold about this, and Brownie and those guys,
Yeah.
Right.
because they have to be intimately involved in the material we choose, because they're gonna kind of be responsible for it if they do knock it over, fixing it too, helping us fix it, so. And the insulation probably and stuff, and where it goes and all that, so. Yeah, so we should be cautious about that, but, yeah, I mean, if we wanna make it stone, or, I don't know what
Is
you.
there any
No, I'm
granite
thinking it's
companies
like
around
a-
here that might donate the
Okay.
granite?
Like polymer concrete or something.
Well, there is granite that was in the common, but I know that they're going
It's like a mixed
to,
plastic
they're gonna, when they took down 715, there was actually granite in the foundation, but they're gonna use that on site. I don't know if people would actually donate it though.
Or like a granite company that might have like cutouts? They could
Right,
use
that's-
for poles, I don't know.
You know what you're
And then they
thinking?
could be
I
like
haven't heard it called
granite
lumber.
sponsored by, you get the free
Just like there's
advertising.
so much
I don't
I
know.
kinda like the feel of the look of wood.
Get out of Applewood too. Why not?
Okay,
Main Street.
so that's where we are on that. I know Rich would like to get going
I know.
on this. We also have a limitation, if it's under $10,000, right, it's 10?
Yep.
We only have to have one bid, if it's a town-based. If it's over 10,000, we have
need
to
to
have
get
three.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't want to be spending a lot of money anyway, and we're trying to keep the cost down, so.
So what do you think overall? I'm thinking maybe $5,000 to do everything?
Well, I would love that. If it was $5,000 to do both signs, I think we would be
I don't think that's
really
gonna
lucky.
You think it's more gonna be like 10?
Well,
Based on what we've been.
you have to
hearing.
remember, all the little signs, a lot of the little signs are going to be paid for by the business, the individual business somehow. So that's not gonna probably factor into this. If a business is contributing in, it's underneath the threshold.
Right,
So-
so we know the 4 farms are gonna be covered. We know that.
So the intention is for the town to pay for the main sign?
Yeah, for the main
If
sign of the
that's
Actually,
structure.
really
If
good.
that's the case, then, I mean, we missed the window for town meeting this year. It would have to wait until next year's.
Really?
Yeah, town meeting.
Really? This
I
would
believe
be-
so, yeah.
What was
Well,
that?
who could the town
The budgets
install
have
it?
already
That
been
would be one of the bigger
submitted.
costs.
Well, let's see what the cost comes in and figure
Yeah.
out a funding mechanism. If we
Right.
get the whole thing to be funded
Privately?
privately,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a bonus, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So let's work on it and go there, so.
Is that something we could talk directly to the finance committee about? Because I know when they were doing the park, before they did any fundraising, I think they came to us and asked us or something, so the finance committee.
I can certainly look into it to see, you're saying
Yeah.
to get it on town meeting this year?
Yeah.
I can look into it, I don't have.
I don't know if they had to do it around town meeting or if they already had a budget that they could do that with.
But I guess it could be submitted as sort of, I don't know if it would be a
Because
submission
it seems to me like
petition.
he didn't need it for
Yeah.
town meeting, like he just
That'd be great. So
kind
remember-
of approached me and said, oh,
Yeah,
you
let-
guys did this and
let
that.
them exactly do it.
Okay.
You know,
I'll look
we
into
plan to
it.
match
They
whatever you
just sent
guys
an email
do,
to
or
Rich
what
Haywood.
you guys can raise this much, we probably match you guys, you should have someone come talk to us.
I think
Basically,
a lot
he
of
just
this
basically
is
said
stuff
that
like
they
that.
didn't want to raise all the money, but they
A lot
said
of
they would
this
give
is
us some.
like the protocol.
But I don't think, he didn't say 10, but I don't know how much further that went, because I wasn't involved after
Why
that
don't you
point.
take this?
So I don't know if they have like a little ad hoc budget
I
they
could always make
can
it
do
up.
stuff with,
That's
Yeah, I definitely think
like a
so.
little bit of
I
a
mean, I'd be surprised.
kiddie
if they
pool
weren't.
on the
Yeah,
side.
Yeah,
they keep-
because especially if you got a lot of people, then they
You
feel
could
like
actually
they're part
sleeve
of it.
that,
Yeah.
you could actually sleeve that
Yeah, I
around.
think town budget wise,
I'm
this
sure we
is,
can convince somebody.
I think you
with
could
this.
raise the money privately, provided that, you know,
Something or
it's
bring it
reasonable,
together, I suppose,
right?
maybe, or
There's two
something.
signs, I think,
I
is
don't know what
definitely
they sleeve
doable.
that around. I
I'm
wouldn't
more
want to sleeve
concerned
it
about where
around
they're
wood,
situated.
if
Yeah.
possible.
Because if they're
And
gonna
then
do-
Or a
how
smaller
much money
piece
he
of
gets
steel.
back
And it's no
going.
one's fault, it's just
No,
the place it's
right,
at.
right.
It says,
And put the
we're
wood around it.
pushing
Oh,
5 feet of snow,
Yeah.
you're
You
not
might wanna
worried
be
about where the
right
sign, you
involved
don't
in
even
that.
know where the sign
Right.
is.
Do we know when that's-
No, do we have any
You could
info,
crowd
so,
it before,
actually, so let me just move on.
I did that with some posts at my house, it didn't work
Do
very
we have
well.
an update on the
It
bracket?
didn't survive.
Yes.
Yep.
So, froze. Water got in
By the
there,
way,
froze
who
and
took the
cracked.
reef
Yeah.
sun?
Blew apart.
Yeah,
Eventually.
boy, they went.
It took-
It was amazing.
took
It
a
went
lot.
down
It took
pretty
like
quick.
8 days,
Yeah.
but eventually it
Here's one driveway
Yeah.
that
blew
Yeah.
out.
495.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Water got
exactly.
in there and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a nice note
Can't
from
beat the
Mark.
elements.
That
I,
was
uh,
nice.
I have
Oh,
a
it's very nice.
few options I put together for this. I talked to a number of people, and I'll just start. So I believe that some of the restrictions we had last time, we couldn't drill anything into the utility poles. Was that correct? So option one shows essentially a big screw hook. I have stuff like this to hang things in my garage and my shed and whatnot. It's pretty cheap. Screw it in, and then we're just zip tying the reeds right to these hooks. You can put them at the same height, we can leave them there and have them facing against traffic like it's shown. If we can't, or if we don't like the idea to drill and put screws right in, the other idea is to get a hook on a sort of a flat bracket like this and use these steel bands. Which I really got that idea from the second one.
I think we could screw stuff in there.
It says, it is actually vague. It says on 2.8 pole attachment, and this is on Verizon, I know we read this before. It says, any article or device in direct contact or otherwise supported by a utility pole. For the purposes of this agreement, an attachment shall include only decorative type attachments, wreaths, banners, flags, etc., and not cables or wires for any type of communication or signaling. It doesn't say how it's attached to
It's
the
an
pole.
attachment.
It just says what the top of
Whether it's gonna incur a pole attachment fee or not. That's what we're
Basically, they
talking
don't
about.
want us to use their poles for commerce.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
and,
Exactly. They don't want us to use
the
their
white,
poles to compete against
the
them,
White
basically.
family attached the flag holders, and those are permanently attached.
Okay.
So
And I will tell you, if you hung wreaths on those poles, there's a lot of stuff on those poles that is like a,
Yeah.
it's like a
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like, holy cow, your fingers are gonna
Staples and
God,
screws.
oh my
Yeah.
god. I didn't realize you were just loaded with stuff. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy.
that was a very good team building exercise we went through.
But I wonder too, like, if we did just Christmas wreaths, like, I wonder if there's other wreaths or items we could put up during other parts of the year too.
That's why I like page 2, because I
Yes.
think you can absolutely use
So
that
that's
for
actually
other.
stolen from another idea.
Yeah, I think to
Okay.
your point,
Yeah.
Lisa,
Yeah, so which option
absolutely.
is the best
Is that
option for
Littleton?
us?
I like two people.
Two to me,
Littleton
really
and,
cool.
Shrewsbury. Now Shrewsbury, they actually bought light poles with these brackets permanently installed on the
Those
light
were
poles.
pretty.
They were.
Yeah.
Like gas light poles sort of thing?
Oh, yeah, I've seen stuff like that.
Are they like
Mostly in
gaslight?
places, yeah, where they have the things sticking out that you
Yeah.
can hang things up.
Yeah, so the idea here is you hang, I've got a wreath on here with ties, but it holds a banner from top to bottom.
Yeah, we saw those in Littleton.
And yeah, it's what's in Littleton. And in Littleton, I believe they're drilled in, but the other option is you can get these rods on a plate and attach them with steel bands. So then you can, whatever the season or whatever you want to celebrate, you can swap out the item that you have on these.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I don't think it's ideal because they're utility poles and by definition, they're not the best looking poles. If you have like a gas light where you can hang them, that's usually where you see them. It really kind of dresses it up.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, so driving, it
kind of
looks
good.
cool when they're evenly spaced, like
Right.
Yeah.
poles would be, and ours are kind of staggered.
Right.
But it's,
But it's the
what we
best
work
we
with.
have, right?
But it did look
exactly.
good, and everything was the same height.
yeah.
But what you'll,
Yeah, but the utilities underground.
that was the main problem, I think, with this year's was that
We're in trouble.
it was kind of
That's
different
never happening.
heights.
I wouldn't worry, I've looked at
I
some
didn't think it was
poles.
that much different height. I thought we did a pretty good job at making.
I agree. When I went down the road
It's
the
just the
first
road.
time, I was like,
Yeah, I
wow.
was pretty impressed.
It was pretty, at least from the eye, it
Yeah.
looked really.
But
pretty
some were dead center, some were kind of like to the left,
That's
so.
what
it-
my kids did.
Well, no, everybody
My
did.
only comment with the one on page 2
They did.
Your kids did a great job.
is that the ones that are closer to Main, the location of some of the utility poles is closer to the street. My only fear would that be that a truck would hit that.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
our certain
6
location.
feet high or wherever we were hanging. We wouldn't be able to
They
hang
are
out
pretty,
at
somewhat.
that height that would
Well, I
be.
don't know that, well, you're right, because some of those poles are
Yeah.
literally.
Unless you did it on the inside, you'd have to do it on the inside side of
Yeah,
some of
also-
those poles, which you don't want to do.
Just,
And that's
just,
what Don Lowe's feedback
Right.
says.
just for the ease of hanging too, this first one I like, because the back of the wreaths have like the little metal things where you can like tie a loop, you could literally, you could just hang it, and then however you want to fasten it on the bottom, whereas this option 2, it's a little more work involved. You know, it seems like it'd be a little more.
So the only advantage about
Yeah, we're
option
really good at
2,
this. We could handle that additionally.
the option 2 allows for other things besides a wreath.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you
That's
can
what I
have
like.
the
Oh, that is
flag.
good.
But why wouldn't option 1 allow for other things
Could we
besides
do
the
that?
wreath?
Could we do a flag?
What's
Like
the
a,
Will
Well,
we here?
yeah.
Well, we could
Well, option 3 is the flag
customize
one.
Option 3,
Option, yeah.
this is,
Oh, great.
But it depends which direction you want the flag hanging. Do you
I'm
want
not
it
talking
hanging
about
with
that type of
traffic?
flag. I'm talking about, kind of like what they have in
Yeah.
Littleton,
Yeah.
sort of like,
Oh, banner.
Do that.
yeah,
You can do that on this one.
Here, these are banners.
yes,
There we go.
exactly.
See, but it looks
But
good
look
on
at
that.
those lights.
I know.
Can we just get, oh,
Well,
those are
these are
regular
the-
poles, so
yeah.
look at those.
Let me see.
Those are just regular old metal poles.
And just done
What
a
is this,
little
the
bit higher.
flagpole magazine?
Cool is that?
You know what, that's the other option.
In the her desk.
Oh, but this is, see, I'm nervous how it would look on all the utility poles, because,
Well-
like you said, some of them are pretty scraggly.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, I mean, ideally, this, to me, this look right
Authorized the
here,
National Grid or
this look right
watching.
here is really cool.
Yeah.
Which one?
I mean, this is a really quaint
Yeah, we want
downtown
that.
look.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, we
on-
have to invest in
I mean,
light bulbs.
You know, most college campuses see that, but the utility poles that we have to work with, I mean, at best, they're kind of a tough looking.
But that last one,
What's the front
was the utility pole already decorated.
Well, it was a metal pole, it was a metal square pole.
Yeah.
Which one?
The one,
The brown one?
yeah, if you look closer, it's like a metal pole.
Oh,
Well, so what I was wondering.
The steel
I thought
banding
of
can be
this.
bought in brown, because we have it in brown, we use it all the time. So,
That would make it look better.
yeah, so you don't, when he says steel banding, it doesn't have to be stainless steel, it can be, they make a brown coated version, so it'll look better.
Yeah, so blend in with the.
Yeah, it blends in, and they make a brown coated, I believe, those things are done with a ratchet, we have the ratchets, so
you know,
I can just ratchet it
I
down.
think if this high enough, we could get away from trucks hitting it.
If we do it right, I think that's gonna
If
look.
it was
the
too
best.
high though, it might require DPW.
That's the only
Yes.
concern, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The cherry picker.
Well, so that
Right,
said,
which we don't
like,
have.
that said, Shrewsbury
have it, but
does
we-
their work, Littleton Light Electric Department does that work.
Yeah.
It's not the Economic Development Committee that's
It's
putting
their
it out.
DPW or the electric
Yeah.
company.
Yeah,
I'm betting that we could, I mean, well, who has bucket trucks? Treescape has a bucket truck, they would
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, I think there's resources to be able to do
To
it.
help
We just
out.
have to decide upon
How to do
we're
it.
gonna go this, I mean, initially, maybe we just do the hooks to see how it looks.
well, so that's
Short
what
money,
I,
it's
Because
not a big
eventually, when you
deal.
get the common done, within a couple of years.
Yeah, and then who knows
You're
what
gonna wanna have
happens
like
from there.
summer in the common.
Which
and-
one would you suggest?
well, so what I was thinking was exactly what you just said, is if we do option 1 or something first, see how it looks. And then later, when the common gets developed,
Right.
or whatever word we're gonna use,
Mm-hmm.
it's built, maybe we look at something that's more like, for a stretch of a couple hundred yards for this, can we put lights or something?
Right in
front
down,
of it?
right in the center.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And then, so we have, that stretch look pretty professional, pretty well done, evenly spaced.
Expand it, yeah, and then expand it.
Yeah, so why don't we do the hooks, like you said, let's try that, short line.
Number 1 or 2?
Well,
I think it was-
1A, it's
it was-
just how do we attach it?
Oh, 1A.
Debating whether or not they would allow us to physically
I think there's no
penetrate the
problem.
pole, but they say.
So with the
based on
band, it's
bylaws.
$25 a pole, and
Yeah.
with the screw, it's $10 a pole.
Pretty much.
So basically, we did 50,
Yeah.
50, so that's $1,000, right? No,
50 times 5 is
10.
what?
No, 50
$10,
times 25,
$50.
it's
Oh,
$25.
$25. Did I write 20? Oh, with the bands?
It's $1,250.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$12.50,
Yeah,
and then $10 with a screw. which would be number one. Would it hold?
Now, I have, also, I think if we did it with 2 screws, one at the top, one at the bottom, it would secure it better. So that's what that price would, I think it's gonna be about $5 a screw.
So it's basically $10 a pole.
Yeah,
So that's $500.
yeah.
And we have almost that, and I just have another donation of $100. We almost have that in our account.
And like you said, I think that's a good idea. Start with the screws, and then maybe a year or 2 down the road, go to this option 2 in key spots.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I think that's good.
So number 1, where you
'Cause we-
screw it in, is the idea that this hook would be, the bottom hook would be facing down, the top hook would be facing up, kind of.
Wedge
Hook
it
it
up.
onto the
Wedge.
top one, tie it to the bottom one.
Or if, like she said, if it was up and down, then you just put it over, kind of
Yeah.
squeeze it under and done.
Sure.
And I wonder if you need any additional, because that would
That's
be,
Yeah.
tough though, not knowing the size of every wreath
Well,
because,
but you have to have it set, I mean,
We do a couple trials.
right? Because some of them might be,
they were pretty uniform.
yeah, I know, but it's how you push the branches. So some branches might be harder to push back than others because remember it was a wreath and the branches were
Yeah.
most of the wreath. So you could push the
Right.
branches, so.
Right, they're not.
Those branches, if you put it there and it's tight in the beginning, after time, they might give away and then end up might falling kind of down or something like that.
Well, I mean, we took, you know,
I like
zip
the idea
tied.
of tying it to the bottom, just
Yeah,
because
either way.
that can go with it moving, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at least you could have the one thing that you put on the
The top,
top,
yeah.
and then you just tie the bottom.
Yeah, because you don't know how the weather might affect the wreath.
Well, clearly,
If it's
I mean,
tighter or if it gets, I don't know.
So if the bottom hook could almost be like a straight piece of metal with like a hole, so you just put the zip tie like over the thing and then through like you could be even like a little eye hook or something.
Mhm.
Just needs to be a little eye hook where you can put a zip tie just to secure the bottom. It doesn't even need to be this big hook, it just needs to be like
Yeah, it
a
can
little,
Yeah, then we can make it like
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
hooks on.
yeah.
Those zip ties are huge.
So like the top one is a big hook and then the bottom one's just like a little eye hook where you just
Yeah.
zip tie it on the bottom.
Yeah. So wouldn't it look nice when
And
we,
then how
when the
much
coffin's done?
Yeah, that would
add
be
a
awesome.
banner
That would
for
be
the
Yeah.
coffin.
Are they gonna get any of those?
I don't recall seeing even though there are lights, but I don't know.
Yeah, driveway, wouldn't that be cool?
There's driveway.
Driveway going down and having light poles like that,
Mhm.
and going down the driveway, that would be awesome.
Lots of things would be awesome.
Okay, so thank you very much. So are we tabling this discussion for consideration? What do you,
Oh, I think we go with option 1 initially, I think that's
Yeah, and
really the
it's not,
consensus.
it's not till next
Pick it up in
holiday
September.
season,
Yeah,
so
We
in the
could be putting
meantime,
those
if
up this
there's,
summer. We could putting the screws in. this
Yeah. that would
but
be
if there's
great.
any ideas in the meantime of other things that we can
Non-recent.
hang, that we might want to modify the design a little bit before we
Yeah.
put it in.
Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see over time selling banners, you know,
summer. Like Dine or Golf.
or we love Bolton, support by Murphy Insurance.
Yeah.
Right, I
Oh,
think there's a lot of
yeah.
things we can do. Absolutely, no, I think it's a great idea to have the
This town
banners.
is really moving forward. It's
We'd like to
exciting.
see something, you know, it'll be great when we can dot the I and cross the Ts on one of these events, which are, it's definitely happening. Okay, and then updates from the planning board, anything?
There's not tons, the one thing is delay is getting a little tweaked, but it's kind of just a procedural type thing.
No one's used it yet, though.
Huh?
Just creates a map for
No, no, it's
Not
just
yet,
a,
no.
no. There's nothing really much out of the planning board.
Yeah.
Clinton Savings Bank,
What about it?
they're
Oh, I saw there was a,
going forward.
Yeah.
oh, I was gonna ask you, do you have the dates on when they're gonna start construction on that? Or- I mean, I see it, but.
They're gonna be demoing the building.
I'd like to put like updates on the
It's that
Facebook
tourist
page.
map, in
Yeah,
fact, this is the one that does.
I've been talking to Clinton Savings Bank, but, because eventually we do need to have a pre-construction meeting with them out at the site. So right now, they're just demoing the building, and they're gonna get back to me when,
Any news on Condyne, again? But
I haven't heard from them at all.
any word on
Those could be
626 when he's
Yeah.
gonna announce?
Anything from
Here,
Patterson?
you can put
I
it
haven't.
online and have
No.
it print.
Well, Frank, if you're
I'll have to look at
listening,
it.
I contacted him I got in touch with him like September or October. And
They
he
say
said he
it's
had
free.
like 70 applicants and
It's registered.
I don't know.
he had told me spring.
$28.
Yeah, I heard May 1st. So, we'll see.
Okay, so are we, saying it's okay to adjourn?
We official or not official?
Okay. Officially-
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah. Adjourn.
Second, all in favor, aye.
Thank you very much. Great meeting, and